Well, we're back again. I'm Jack Driscoll, and I'm here with Becky Luzier, again with the Black Hawk Family Relief Fund. She brought two guests with her. Thank you very much for coming, by the way, Becky.
Absolutely.
Back again to update us. Megan and Bob, and we'll get into why we're all together, give the community an update on what's been happening with the flood relief, especially in Bethel Park, and go on from there. So Becky, if you don't mind, get us caught up a little bit since the last time we talked.
So the last time I was here, we spoke about a lot of the fundraising activities that were beginning post-flood. So we have gone through a lot of fundraisers now, and our initial plan was to do a disbursement of funds to families that were affected the most by the flooding. So FEMA scale uses 1, 2, 3, and 4, with 3 and 4 being the highest and 1 and 2 being the lowest. Now, that doesn't mean that because you're a 1 or a 2 that you didn't actually have significant damage, but there has to be some classification system. Okay. So we dispersed approximately $14,000 to about 35 homes that were level 3 and level 4 according to the FEMA classifications. And we don't make those assessments. The municipality did those assessments. So when we were here last time and we talked about the importance of reporting your property as having been damaged, that's how those assessments were completed, and we wrote those checks and hand delivered them to those families. Most of them have already even been cashed by now. So that wasn't a process where we asked anyone to apply for anything. We thought in the because things were so serious and we wanted to act very quickly, we distributed that money to those families basically requested. So that money has gone out, and our goal at that point was to raise an additional $14,000. So that was our next goal, and we wanted to now open up a grant request process for families of all levels. Okay. So if you were assessed as a level 1 or a level 2, which you can get that information from the municipality, from the Department of Emergency Management if you're not sure what level they concluded. I believe they would have said that to you during the assessment process, but if you're unsure. And we figure that we kind of have to set an endpoint at some point for our fundraising, because we're not opposed to continuing to do more for flood victims. That's certainly something that we know is needed desperately in our community still. But we wanted to kind of set an endpoint because we wanted to have another time to distribute money and try to have a schedule, so to speak. So for disbursement 2, we have set a deadline of August 12th as our last fundraiser for that. And the reason being that we have some people here with us today who have Megan in particular, who's really taken the lead on putting together a family fun festival for August 12th. So that is going to be our bookend. So all of the jars that are out in the business and communities that are raising money on counters and clubs and groups, all that money is going to come in by the festival date of August 12th. And then August 12th festival happens, we'll finish our accounting up for that, and then whatever we have in our account at that point, we will then distribute that out through this grant process. And the grant application is already done, so that will be posted on our Facebook page. Our website, we finally got everything put together for that, so we'll be linking that to our Facebook page. Good. And you'll be able to download and send in the application. And it will be a very simple application. We're not going to ask for too many hoops at that point, because the grant request is probably going to be somewhere in the ballpark of a couple $100. So we're not going to have huge hoops for anyone to jump through for that smaller amount of money. But we do have to have some sort of process for people to request. And I would love to just say, well, we'll deliver unsolicited to the rest of the people that were 1s and 2s. But when you have 400 properties, if I was to distribute that money over, the 370 or whatever that didn't get money yet, we're not talking about that much for any one person. So we would like to instead allow families to decide that they want to ask for it. So that information will be coming out. But we did end up using the August 12th as our end date because of the festival, and that we think that's going to be a very successful opportunity for us in terms of fundraising. So maybe let Megan talk about that a
Yeah,
little
I was
bit.
going to say, where is this, and is it rain or shine, or what do people need to know about that?
So it absolutely is rain or shine. We have tents for the vendors, so hopefully we're fingers crossed it's not going to be raining that day. But we're going to have over 50 vendors. We're going to have a band and a DJ playing. Shady Mugs is going to be there. And we're going to just try and raise as much money as we can. We've got over 50 raffle baskets. We've got 5 or 6 huge ticket prizes, like a 55-inch TV and an Xbox. We've got $1,500 worth of landscaping services donated, hockey tickets, basically
Really?
you name it, yeah. So we're hoping that it's going to be really successful. The amount of support that we've received from the community has just been unbelievable. So
Where is it?
it's at IMS, and there's parking at the high school.
Independence Middle School?
Yes.
Okay. Where, and there's parking up there, you say?
There's parking at the high school.
At the high school,
And there's a
okay.
little pathway to walk
And
up
from
to.
what time?
It's from 4 to 7 on August
Okay.
12th.
4 to 7 on the 12th there. Okay. Boy, a lot's happened since we met.
It's been amazing.
I mean, this is like a steamroller. it
Yeah,
seems, on
it-
everything that's happened in a whirlwind.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because we're still receiving reports from properties that need assistance post flood. So I would say that and this is not a scientific explanation, but I believe that most properties that were affected by the flooding have been, a large majority of those have been reported. They've been assessed. People have done the initial cleanup. Now that doesn't mean they've rebuilt or anything yet, but they have cleaned out. And but we're still finding, like we just had a report day before yesterday of an elderly couple who someone found them through work completely unrelated to flood relief or whatever, and that they had expressed to someone they were speaking to that they still had 3 inches of mud in their basement. And we don't know to help unless people reach out to us.
Right.
So we're in the process of finding out who they are, where they are, and if they're interested in allowing us to get a group of people to come in and help them. And I just thank you and I thank BPTV so much for these shows because I think it's important for us as a community to remember that just because we don't see the dumpsters anymore and just because you don't see people out working so much as we were in maybe the first 2 weeks after the flooding, there's still so much rebuilding to be done, and there's still so many of our neighbors that still need our help and our support and really just our encouragement too, that we see you and you're not alone.
So we still want to, I guess, then make sure neighbors are checking on their other neighbors because we wouldn't know inside their home
Correct.
still has 3 inches of mud.
Correct.
So we want to check, especially, I'm assuming, on the elderly neighbors or someone that might not be as vocal or expressive on what's going on and they're keeping it to themselves. Is that what's possibly
Correct.
happening?
Yes, correct. We are really continuing to encourage people to reach out to your neighbors, to check on people, because sometimes people say everything's fine. And a lot of what we discovered during the flood relief was we would go out and do a meal delivery, thinking that's all we were doing for them. They were affected by the flooding. We're going to make sure they have a hot meal tonight that they don't have to worry about planning. And then having our meal people are there and realize they have damage and no one's done anything about it yet. And I think especially when you think about our senior citizens who may not have any family local, they may not know who to call, and they can't physically do some of these things on their own, but they also don't want to bother anybody. And we just want the members of our community to know that it's not a bother. Like, we are here to help, and we really encourage people to reach out to us. Now and in the future.
So reach out to you, share with people that are watching this and hearing this on the radio how to reach out to you.
So I know not everyone's on social media, but that really is the most efficient platform for us to share information. Okay. And the Black Hawk Family Relief Fund, Black Hawk is 2 words, right just after the school drive that the high school sits on. That, we have a Facebook page and we share a lot of information through that. You can also send an email at blackhawkfamilyrelief@yahoo.com. And that's the 2 most efficient efficient ways for people to reach out to us right now. We're a group of all volunteers, so there's no physical building or office for anyone to come to. But if they can reach out to us through one of those modes of communication, then we can kind of start a case, so to speak, on them. We triaged a lot during the flooding of people were being reported as having an issue, sending someone out or calling them, figuring out what their damage was or how they were affected by the flooding and how can we help, and then taking that information back to our group of volunteers, because I know that I'm the face of the fund, but there is 50 people behind me that are doing everything from the phone calls for the triaging to the meal preparation to the laundry to the labor of the cleanup to providing consulting for rebuilds and the construction aspect of it. So there are, providing manpower, providing trucks to haul things. So there is a huge group of people who are willing to really at almost no notice right now drop everything that they're doing to help their neighbors, which is so amazing.
It is amazing.
It's amazing. This is such an amazing community. I'm so fortunate to have landed here. I could have landed anywhere in Pittsburgh. I thank God it was Bethel Park, but there are people
Thank
out
goodness
there.
For us, you did.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't affected by the flooding, and that allowed me to help. And I certainly have no experience in disaster relief. I don't come from a background of, I grew up with hurricanes, so I've seen it because I'm from the East Coast, but I never did anything like this before. But I do have a very strong background in management. So I have managed different groups of different sizes in different fields for 10 years. So that does give me the ability to organize, to creatively problem solve, to communicate. But again, we kind of jokingly started calling ourselves the Band of Good Witches. And the couple of us that have done most of the coordination, those women will not get in front of a camera. They don't want to be in front of anything. They don't want anyone knowing who they are. They're behind the scenes. But I'm only really even a quarter of the group of people who have just been so amazing in organizing things. And I'm also really, I'm self-employed, so that helps a lot. I'm able to take the time to do this. But I'm also fortunate that a nonprofit that I have a contract to manage, Intrepid Girls Lacrosse Club, my board of directors, when all of this happened and they realized what was going on, they all, across the board, them and my coaching staff said, go do it. You do it. We got it. We'll handle everything. If there's a question, we'll come and ask you, but your neighbors need you right now. And that's, I always felt like I was involved with a really amazing group of people, but I knew even more so then when they saw what was going on in my neighborhood and they realized that people needed help and that I had the ability to help them. But they could have just as easily said, we're in season right now and you can't step away from your daily duties. Good luck. We hope you do well with this, but you have a job to do right now. And instead they across the board said, no, go help. And I think that's just, I think that's a Pittsburgh thing. I'm not from here. That's been my experience. It's this Pittsburgh thing to want to help people. And it's a very Midwestern sort of mindset in Pittsburgh that you help your neighbor and you don't wait for anybody else to do the heavy lifting. You do it yourself. And and then, to see that boil down even so much deeper in Bethel has been so amazing.
Now, Megan and Bob, you're involved with the event on the 12th. So tell me a little bit about who you're hoping comes to the event, what you're looking for out of the event, and a little more about what people can expect who do come to the event.
Why don't you go first?
You want me to?
Yeah, go for it.
First of all, thanks for having us, Jack.
Absolutely.
And without Becky and Megan doing all this work, my band wouldn't be involved in this benefit. But I've been a resident for 8 years now in Bethel Park, and I've been blessed that I wasn't affected with this flood, but I came very, very close. My house has a creek right behind it, and it was up about 10 feet, one more foot, and it would have went into my basement, my garages, and I knew from that point that there were going to be a lot of people affected from it. As a band member and a person that books the band, we do a lot of work for children, from other communities that are disabled. We do shows for veterans a lot. And we picked up a lot of speed. We picked up a lot of people. Our fan base has grown just in 4 years to well over 100. It's somewhere between 100 and 150 per show right now. Wow. And when this happened on June 20th, that weekend we had a show, and it wasn't even in Bethel Park. It was in Finleyville. And we raised over $600.
Wow.
Just days after. So I knew as a resident, the only resident in the band from Bethel Park, that we have to do something for our community as well. And when I heard Becky and Megan talk about a festival, talk about a benefit, I didn't even have to talk to my bandmates. We were going to be there whatever day, whatever time.
Something
so
you
I'm
could help
expecting
with.
a lot of Shady Mugs fans, musicians that know me. I've been shouting out all the time about the benefit. From our shows leading up, we have a show right before the benefit out at Blaine Hill in Elizabeth. So it carries from, like our phrase before, neighbors helping neighbors. Bethel Parkians helping Bethel Parkians is the immediate thing. But other communities have been affected. Other communities want to help. Okay. They know how tragic it was and how a lot of people are still hurting. And so with my band, the shout out is, and it could just keep growing. And hopefully we can just flood the area, so to speak, and flood the benefit with people, with hearts, and giving back. And I think it will be a very big, successful day for us and for the community. So.
Megan, is this an opportunity that you see on the 12th for all of the people, whether they were involved or not, to get together, all the people in the homes that were affected, that received some of the help, all the volunteers that were giving the help, to all kind of get together in camaraderie and meet each other more personally?
Yeah,
or what are you
absolutely.
looking for?
So as much as we want it to obviously raise money for the fund, we want it to kind of be a point where people can get together, have a good time, and just kind of enjoy all of the successes that we've had as a community. I feel like I've only been in Bethel Park for about 3 months. And our house was a little flooded, but it wasn't near as bad as some of the other people. So I wanted to help in some way, and this ended up being the way that I'm helping. And I'm really looking forward to the event. But I have been blown away by the amount of support we've gotten, not only from the Black Hawk Relief Fund, but just, complete strangers coming over to our house and being like, "Are you okay? Do you need anything?"
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, we live on Clifton Road, and so there were quite a few people that day who came over and said, like, "I see there's water in your backyard. Are you okay? Do you need anything?" And it's just made me so proud to be in this community, and it's made me so proud that we actually picked here to move to.
That's nice. I see this. I know that we've all been scattered efforts throughout this with the coordination of the Black Hawk Family Relief Fund, helping tie things together, and the citizens of Bethel Park. But otherwise, it's been like you just said. It's a neighbor or someone, we're kind of scattered, just trying to help out wherever we can. A lot of us don't know how we can help, and a lot of other people don't know where to get help. But one of the things I think with the benefit of this event is it's a meeting place that all of the residents and non-residents, anyone who wants to come to help out or find out a little bit more about what's going on, people that were affected that want to come and say thanks, people that were volunteering that want to come and bring other people to help support, and other residents and even local businesses and everyone else involved to just help come out and meet all together, help a fundraising effort, help things move forward is what I'm seeing as our hope here.
I think it's really a positive, exclamation point, at the end of, and certainly not an end. That's why I say it's not a period. There's more coming after this, but it is a chance for us to sort of celebrate our strength of our community and the people involved. And the volunteers, so many of the people that have worked through me or through the fund, I may have never met them either. I may have only ever communicated with them on phone or text message. We use the Slack app for all of our relief coordination. So they may have only been people that I've ever like talked to in a text sort of way, but I've
Okay.
never physically seen them in person. So I think it's a really cool opportunity. And most of these people have families, so it's an opportunity for them to bring their kids.
Right.
And to show their kids, you know, like, this is what mom and dad have been doing, or this is what, you know, when I've been
Right.
gone every Saturday for the last 6 weeks, this is what mom's been doing on Saturdays.
Yeah.
And so that's a great example for our kids. And, you know, Megan took the lead on this. So there are several fundraisers that have taken place in Bethel. The fund has not really run any fundraisers ourselves except for our online t-shirt order, which we
Okay.
raised $1,500 from that.
Nice.
And then our GoFundMe, which is ongoing, and we'll take that down on August 12th, so we'll continue to share that on our social media platforms. But once we end that, once the festival happens, we're going to close that out. Now, we'll keep a GoFundMe active for the fund in general if people
Okay.
want to continue to support us, and it's something that we can just fire up, you know, remind everybody where to go if something does happen again in the future and we need some support. But these fundraisers that are taking place, for the most part, are being run completely by private citizens. Megan reached out to me weeks ago and said, I want to do something,
Really?
and how can I help? And they had some ideas, and we talked a little bit in the beginning about bouncing some of those ideas off. But in reality, I haven't done even remotely close to the lion's share of it's like the mouse's share right now of preparation for this. It's Megan and her team of women who have been volunteering their time to organize, and we're facilitating and trying to help answer questions when they don't know who to talk to at the municipality, because I have more connections at a municipal level than I ever thought I would at this point. But they're the ones doing all of the work. And that has really been a theme during all of this, is that the work is coming from the people, and the organization of these fundraisers and even the coordination of all of the volunteer efforts are all coming from the women of our community, which I think is super powerful. And that's powerful for us as women, and it's powerful for the young girls in our community also, to see that all the organization, 98% of the fundraisers, this is being organized by their mothers, their sisters, their aunts, their pediatricians, they're the women in their life. And I think that that's really amazing, because sometimes you think that one person can't do anything, you know, you can't really make a difference, but it's showing that if you have a passion to help people and you are able to connect with other people who are passionate about helping, that you can have this really large cumulative effect that you never thought. So I do hope that as a community, this is a great opportunity for all of us as members of the community to see that if we're passionate about helping someone, whatever that is, like Shady Mugs does all this stuff for other groups, it's not just the relief fund that they've benefited, that if you're passionate about helping people, you can take the skills that you have, or just your time. You don't have to have a bunch of money to donate. You can give 8 hours on a Saturday and make a huge difference for an organization that you care about.
Okay. Becky, where do you see this all going after August 12th with, let's say, the Blackhawk Family Relief Fund, or all of these pieces that are starting to have been put together?
So we will do our second disbursement after the festival ends. We'll take down our GoFundMe. All the jars at the businesses will come in, and we'll do a grant application process that way. We will distribute all of the flood relief funds at that point. So either through the grant, and anything that's left over after the grant app period, we're probably just going to divide equally and send back out to the level 3 and 4 families again. Even if that's just another $50, it's $50 they didn't have, because most people didn't have any insurance protection, not because they weren't insured, but because your policy doesn't cover this type of stuff most of the time. So then going forward, we've been involved in a lot of meetings with the municipality this week, and those are ongoing conversations about how can we help in another issue in the future. You know, we all hope that we never have a flood like this again, but the world, we can't predict the future. It could happen again, it could not. We could have another sort of natural disaster related, issue. Bethel doesn't have the tornado issue that other areas of Pittsburgh might have at times, but we're not immune to it. Right. And we're not immune to any of the challenges that a community can face, or any of the bad stuff that can happen in the world. So we met last night with several members of the municipal leadership and other important key people throughout the community. And there was a real, and I'll give them credit, because it's not easy to have to sit in a room and take stock of your performance, so to speak. And there's so many things that our community leadership did so well during this process. But they do realize, I think, that the humanitarian component of their emergency plans are something that we can build on much better for the future, especially since they know about us now. And to be fair, they didn't. They didn't know about us before. But we didn't, as we know, we didn't start this saying we're going to be flood relief for Bethel Park in a year. We started this just to help 2 families, and we ended up being around when the flooding happened and able to help and jump in and kind of start running point. But we look to really be a force in our community going forward. So beyond the flood relief, we want to continue to be an organization that can provide support to families in need, whether that be an older member of our community who doesn't have any family local and just needs access to some people a couple times a year to help with things around the house or help with things on their property. If there are families at risk of in any way, maybe there's a fire and they need some help getting back on their feet. But we want to continue to be, we talked to the police chief and the fire chief last night. We want to be more integrated into their protocols so that when they come across a family who maybe there's nothing else for them to report to them or report them to at this point right now, but this is someone that the fund could reach out to and try to provide some support and some assistance. So, and I look forward to the future meetings because there's going to be a lot more meetings with municipal leadership. And Tim Mallory, the council president, he gets it. And he realizes how important it is to have this component really well developed within the structure of their own planning so that next time something happens, or just even in general, when there's a problem for anyone on our street, it is neighbors helping neighbors. FEMA says that that's who's on the ground right after a disaster, but we can be super organized about it. We can use that same concept that not necessarily is anybody coming from the outside. We can help ourselves, but we can be organized with it so that we know who to call. And if somebody calls municipal office with a problem, the municipal office knows to get a hold of me at that point. And we have our people behind us. Mr. McLean on the council last night said we're not a huge municipality. We could have used 150 employees during this flood relief, and we obviously don't have access to that. But the good news is that you really do. I mean, you have access to thousands of employees in terms of people that want to help their community. So in the event of an emergency, they really can call all of us in. And I think they're going to be amazed at, and a lot of the people that weren't involved in the planning and the execution of the volunteer relief, maybe they just didn't realize how many people stepped up. I mean, we're talking like hundreds of volunteers, so it isn't
I don't
like
think anybody knows.
Yeah, I mean,
except the people themselves.
The amount of support that we provided, of different kinds of support by different people, is just so large and so great. And I just think that Bethel Park could literally handle anything as a community. We just want to be really organized going forward so that we can be efficient and respond quicker and better.
Well, Becky, Megan, Bob, I appreciate that we were all able to get together, help share the message of what we're all trying to do just as a community, right?
Yeah.
Doing our own part as we can. And again, Megan, if you want to just re-invite everyone to the August 12th, and Becky, if you want to make sure they know how to contact you, we'll wrap the show up with that.
So we would love to see you at Independence Middle School from 4 to 7 p.m. on August 12th. That's a Sunday. Rain or shine, we'll be there definitely. And there's parking in the high school parking lot, so hopefully we'll see you there.
And you can continue to communicate with the Black Hawk Family Relief Fund by visiting our Facebook page and by also contacting us via email at blackhawkfamilyrelieffund@yahoo.com.
Thank you very much for
That's definitely what in the future, after the 12th, my band will be busy. We'll be playing all over the place. But as a Bethel Park resident, I will still be helping families in the community, definitely because of the work that they're doing and the GoFundMe page. I'm definitely going to keep, in contact with all my neighbors because I did that for the first full week right after. It's not just a band thing, it's a person-to-person thing. And that's what I think is so good about Bethel Park. I went to 4 different residents and I helped clean up. And, you put the mask on, the gloves on, and everything else, and you see the faces of the residents just with this glow of people coming to help them. that's where my heart is. So my band will carry on, but after the 12th, I will definitely keep helping residents. And I think that's what this Relief Fund Festival will bring people together to realize, yes, please knock on your neighbor's door. Ask them how they are. So
Thank you very much, all of
thank
you.
you, Jack.
Thank you.